Hello friends, I just wanted to make this video to update you on how yesterday went because some of you are reaching out, and so I just wanted to put it out there just in case that's a little bit more helpful than me trying to text you or whatever else. And I'll like just see how every day goes, but I'm like trying to take it easier, as the surgeon was saying, to take it easier. Like my arm right now is in a sling. It's in a sling. I'm wearing my husband's t-shirt because it's a lot more comfortable. Like it's just larger and it was so much easier to put on. He like had to help me because yesterday my arm was, because I had I think 3 nerve block shots into me, so my arm was like very numb. I could barely move like my thumb. I could barely move my fingers. Now it's a lot better. Like the nurses were like trying to take my pulse and I could not feel anything. And they're like, sorry, my hands are cold, but I'm like, literally, I don't feel anything. And then like, they would like lift my arm like pretty high, but in my mind, it felt like it only got lifted like this much. So I would look over and I'd be like, whose arm is this? So, but that was just like a funny little experience of yesterday. So what they did yesterday was they did like a wide local excision, which they cut out a bunch of flesh yesterday. Just like, it's pretty big. They stitched it up, or he said they didn't stitch it up, they like stapled it because it was like a lot of flesh. And like, I guess the stitches wouldn't have held it. I guess staples are, so I'm like praying that it doesn't open up, because what happened back in 2021, they did some fancy flower stitch or something, and it was like this little, right? And then it just opened up, and that's why I had like this massive scar. And it was so disgusting, like taken care of. I mean, imagine open flesh, like this much of open flesh, like, oh, it was so gross. They had to put like Vaseline on it and like change the band-aids every day. So they told me not to oh, and then so that was this thing, and then they also removed my lymph nodes in my armpit, and they told me not to shower for the next 48 hours, or now I guess it's less, but I'm like, honestly, I'm terrified to do anything with my this bandaging. I don't even know what's under there. I don't want to look, but I really hope it doesn't come off. It's okay. It's just to backtrack, like if you're ever gonna have to go through what I went through, hopefully not. Oh yeah, babe is doing well. They listened to the baby's heartbeat before the procedure and then also after. Everything was done. Heartbeat sounded good, so praise the Lord for that. So okay, so before the surgery, they had me do, like a couple days before, they had me do some blood work, and all the blood work came back like pretty normal. Because you know, you could see it on your like app or website or whatever for your health provider, or I could at least. So everything looked fine except for like one thing was low ALT. It's kind of lower, just a little bit lower. It's like some enzyme that's mostly found in the liver, and if you have high levels, which I had low, if you have high low levels, it means you might have like liver injury or disease. And if you have low, which I had low, it's like, according to Google, it's like frailty and maybe chronic kidney disease. So there's like a lot of maybes with these, you know, biomarkers. And the surgeon, the doctors, they didn't talk to me about that, so maybe it's just not a big deal. But I thought it was interesting that it's like frailty, because I'm like, I feel frail sometimes, but, or I have for a while. So anyway, okay, so did the blood work, everything looked fine. Came in the morning of, they told me to come in at like 8:50. My sister went with me. We came like 30 minutes before. They told us to come in, just waited a little bit, and then they took us in to like do the nuclear radioactive like imaging. And I want to add, like, I'm so blessed because my sister happens to work as like a nuclear medicine technician, which like she is the person that day to day injects people, including people like me with melanoma, injects them with the radioactive dye, takes the images. So she knows the whole procedure, which I thought was really cool. Kind of gave me I don't know, ease of mind, even though not to say that I was suspicious of these, you know, people doing the procedure, but you know, it was just still nice because I could ask her extra questions, and the people were open to questions too. But it was, even today I texted her because I got like the summary, and you know, it said, oh, total injections like this much volume, and I was like, oh, is this normal? And she's like, oh yeah, this is like really low. Usually they give you like 4 times as much. So I appreciate having her there for the procedure. So she was there. That was really cool. The injections themselves, because I was looking at some videos and some people are like, oh, it's radioactive stuff, like it burns you. So I was under the impression that like when they inject you, it's gonna like, you feel the radioactive material, kind of like the Chernobyl series or whatever, you know, like burning through you. But that wasn't the case. It was like, it felt like a sting. He did like 4 injections, and it was just like a sting and then like a bigger sting when they like release the fluid. And they were saying it's kind of like a TB shot. If you've ever had like a TB test, not shot, TB test, you know, they inject you with some fluid or something. So they did that, and that was fine. And then so they did that, and they put me on this bed thing. It's all in the same room. There's, you know, it's just all in the same room. There's just one technician doing the whole thing. Oh, and then the injections, like the doctor came in and did the injections, but like I guess some other places, like my sister's place, like the technician does the whole thing, or that's how I understood it. So anyway, so yeah, super nice people. Went under the camera. I don't know, I wasn't really keeping track of time, but it didn't seem too long. Maybe it was like 15-20 minutes, I don't know. And so maybe less. Anyway, so they got the image, and it was just one lymph node that lit up, and I was like, hallelujah, because sometimes multiple, you know, light up, and then they have to like remove multiple. So I was like, okay, it's just gonna be one, because the less you remove, the less chance of like you mess up, you know, your lymphatic system, like, you know, less chance of you having like the swollen arm type of thing. And my arm doesn't seem to be swollen, so I'm very thankful for that. So anyway, so they did the nuke med part, and then we went back to the like operating room, like prep area or something. I mean, you know, it's just a bunch of beds, and you got the curtains. So I had to like wipe myself down with something, had to like brush my teeth. They give you like a teeth brushing thing. Had to put on like this hospital gown. Yeah, it wasn't too bad. I mean, it's kind of like plasticky inside, so if you sweat, you feel kind of sticky, but otherwise it was all good. And then Julia had to go to work, and then so my surgery was, so that whole nuke med part took place at around 9 a.m. and then my surgery was scheduled at like 1:20. So it's like, it's a lot of time just to kind of hang out. So anyway, so Julia, my sister, she had to go to work, and so I stayed, and my husband was like, oh, do you want to come over? But I was just like, it's fine, because I had a book with me, and I was planning to maybe like take a nap. So it was like, it's pretty chill. Like those hours flew, and then they actually ended up bumping my surgery to an hour later at like 2:15 or 2:20, which was fine by me. Like my original, like my knee-jerk reaction was like, hey, like I'm just thankful that my surgery is such that it can be pushed back. Like it's not like a life and death situation. So maybe somebody else came in whose surgery had to be like done like super pronto, you know. So anyway, Yeah, it was cool. I mean, they put in like an IV in me, fluids, and then when the surgery started, I think they added antibiotics. Um, you know, nothing too eventful. Oh, and then it was really cool because one of the OR nurses, like operating room nurses, he goes to our church. He goes to our church, and he knows my husband, and so it was really cool because he came in and we chatted a little bit, and it just felt really cool just to have like fellow believers that are in the hospital. And then the anesthesiologist came by, and he's like, "Oh, how long have you known the guy, you know, the OR nurse?" And I was just like, "We just met today, but we go to the same church." And it was just like, it was really cool. So yeah, anesthesiologist came in with his assistant. They had like huge syringes with like fluid, and they had to like put it into so they had like an ultrasound thing, and the screen was like right in front of me and in front of them just to guide to where like to inject it. So they went in, did it in my neck, I think in my back, and then also I was kind of surprised. They're like, "Oh, we have to do it kind of like by your rib cage, like in your breast." So I think after giving birth a couple of times, and maybe some of you cannot relate, maybe some of you can, you're just like your personal privacy and everything when it comes to medicine. You don't get shy anymore. You're like, okay, like if this is what needs to be done in desperate situations, you know, you don't even think twice. So anyway, so they had to expose me or whatever, inject me with the stuff over here too, like by my ribs. Like he's like, "Oh, you know, on the screen he's like, that's your rib," you know, stuff like that. Or he was explaining it to the lady that was helping him. Anyway, so yeah, I'm thankful that they didn't get any blood vessels or anything like that. So yeah, they did the block. And okay, I know some of you guys are like not interested in like all these details, so just like skip through, but some of you are, so I'm just gonna put it out there. Yeah, and so, you know, time went on. The surgeon came in, said hello, you know, talked to me, and then they wheeled me to the operating room. And oh yeah, and then like, sorry, before then they gave me like Tylenol, 2 pills of Tylenol, because they said it was gonna like help me with my like pain recovery. And I actually don't take medicine, like no Tylenol, nothing. Like I just choose, like I just, you know, I don't do that type of thing. But you know, they gave it to me, and you know, for yesterday I was just like, I'm just gonna kind of flow with whatever they're telling me, because I don't want to start overthinking. I don't want to start like questioning everything, because I don't want to have anxiety. I'm just gonna pray that God aligns all these people, you know, and all these things are like for my good, and I'm just gonna trust the system. So anyway, so yeah, Tylenol, and then some other thing right before the surgery to like prevent heartburn. Even though I haven't, like the last I ate was like the night before at 5, and it was already 2 p.m. By the time surgery started, so it didn't really have much in my system. And then I only drank water at like 7 a.m. Excuse me. And yeah, so it was fine. And plus I drank a little bit of water of Tylenol. So anyway, so they wheeled me in there, they transferred me to the operating room like bed, and my impressions, because I think most people by that time, like they're knocked out, you know, and I wasn't, I was fully awake. I just watched too many movies or whatever, but I thought like the operating room was gonna look like the sterile, white environment with like everything just, you know, just super sterile looking, super white, super like nothing extra in the room. But I was surprised. It seemed like just like a room. It had like storage cabinets. It had like the operating room, you know, the stereotypical lighting. So it had that. It also had like a couple of like computer screens. I mean, it just seemed like not something I would expect, but that's just like, because I don't know it. Oh yeah, if you guys are distracted by that, it says God is love, whoever abides in love abides in God, and God abides in him. It's one of the Sunday school Bible verses my parents not my parents, my children had to learn, and I just thought it was a cool Bible verse, so there it is. And I was gonna do this video outside like last time, but it's kind of like, I mean, the rain stopped, but everything is still wet, so I'm just doing it here. So anyway, so they wheeled me in there, and then first thing that they did was they worked on the arm, which they kind of just had me lay kind of like this. And they also put like some compression things on your calves, which probably are like to prevent blood clots, I'm assuming, and like blood pressure monitor cuff. But like the blood clot possibly things on my calves. And I found them to be super helpful because I was awake and sometimes I would get like really tense. And whenever they would squeeze my calves, I would like remind myself to like, okay, relax, relax. So yeah, so they, the surgeon, he put like a blue sheet between me and the work that was being done, like, what is it, like half a foot away or whatever, which was cool. Oh, and then like an oxygen mask on me. And so anyway, so they and I'm so thankful that they put that sheet, because I don't want to see those things. And funny thing, I used to be pre-med like back in college, like and now I'm like, something just switched, and I just don't like that kind of stuff. And I'm so thankful. Like, I was praying in my head, I'm like, God, thank you for moving certain people in this direction to be these surgeons, to be these nurses, you know, who have to deal with all this flesh and blood and gore, because that's not where I'm at. So anyway, so he started working on that, and some of the stuff I was feeling, so he had to like inject me with local anesthetic, just like local things. And so then it was just kind of gross because I couldn't feel it, but I could hear all the sounds. I could just all these things. And then I just remember he was like peeling off my skin, because it was like a big area of, I don't know how big it was, but it was pretty big. And I remember the feeling like peeling my skin off, like in the flesh, because that's where the growth is, that's where the old scar is. So it was like peeling it off, and it felt like somebody was just like peeling off like duct tape or like a band-aid off of you, but I knew what it was, and I was like, ugh. And my fault for watching some videos prior to that on what like these wide local excisions look like. So I was just like imagining, okay, there's a fatty layer, there's this. I couldn't see it, praise the Lord, but just thinking about it. So that was pretty good. Yeah, and they were like totally respectful, like the staff, like hearing them. There was no music playing. So some people ask me like, oh, is there music? And no, there was no music, but it was like totally fine. The anesthesiologist was like sitting by me, so she didn't do any like anesthesia on me, because this was done by somebody else, like the local stuff, the nerve block. But she was there just in case. She's like, hey, if it gets bad, like we could do things. I could give you general anesthesia. I could give you things. So she was just kind of like checking in with me, and she was super kind. We chatted about life and this and that. So that was really cool to have her there. But anyway, so the surgeon was working on that, and then when it was time to close it up, he's like, oh, it's a really tight fit. And he did tell me ahead of time that it was going to be like a really tight fit. But anyway, so he's like, oh, it's a really tight fit. And so I guess he was like saying they were using staples instead of like stitching material or whatever they do. So I'm just praying and hoping it's not going to open up. Like, can you imagine? Don't imagine, but if it opens up, like, you'll see my muscles and bone, maybe. Ugh. So that's why I'm like taking it really easy and really like listening to the surgeon. He said like, don't like overexert yourself. Keep your arm in a sling. So I'm just gonna go down that path, because I don't know, I forget if I already mentioned this or not, but back in 2021, when they took out like the first thing that was not cancer, they said it was some weird mole. It was like this little, the scar, but then like they stitched it up in a flower pattern, and then it opened up to be this big. It's like taking care of that flesh, open wound, Vaseline, and yeah, it's really gross. And this is like so much bigger. So if you guys could pray, please pray that it does not open up. That would be great if it did not open up. That would be great. But anyway, so that part was pretty uneventful. Like I was like if it started to hurt, because the, like I mentioned, the block, the seizure wasn't like fully everywhere. It was like, it was, but certain parts were still very like sensitive. So I just like, ugh, and then he'd inject me with local anesthetic. So that was pretty cool. Stitched me up, stapled me up, put Band-Aid, you know, like mentally I was still like doing good. I was like, okay, you know, just praying, thinking about you guys, praying about some of you guys that told me your health issues. And there's a lot of people that have a lot of stuff going on. So anyway, praying for you guys and being thankful to have you guys, trying to remember any Bible verses I had in my head, you know, just all these things. So yeah, so he did that, and then he rolled me like kind of like flat on the bed, and then I kind of moved my arm out, and my arm was like totally like, you know, the nerve block was doing its thing. So he moved my arm, and then he started working on my lymph node. Okay, that's a whole different animal, because over here, the way I look at it, I'm like, it's in your external, it's like your external body parts, you know, like you could get shot here, or, you know, somebody could punch you, or you could cut yourself or whatever. So your body is just kind of prepared for that kind of impact. But in your armpit, it's very protected. You know, you have your arm and your body, and that's like all the way inside. So it's very unlikely that something's gonna go there, you know. But anyway, oh my goodness, so he kept digging and digging and digging, and that was like mentally crazy. And for some reason, the block anesthetic was not really working over there that well, so he had to like inject me super like a lot. And he kept like saying like, dang, like very sensitive, like, you know, whatever. But he didn't shame me or anything. He's like, hey, if it hurts, tell me like right away, I'll add more. So he kept adding more, kept digging more. And I was, you know, again, just praying and just trying to focus. And I was, you know, I was like, I don't want the general anesthesia. So like working on my breathing. Like I mentioned, every time I would feel my calves being squished by the compressor or whatever, like I'd be like, okay, relax. Or the blood pressure monitor, like anytime I would squeeze my arm, I'd be like, okay, just relax. Just because my body was so tense from the, it's not the pain, it's the pressure. You know, like if you're at the dentist, I don't know if you've ever gotten your dental work done, but it's like, it's not the pain, it's the pressure that's just like, ugh, you know, gets you. Or some say even like giving birth, it's not so much the pain, it's the pressure. I mean, that's controversial. I'm not gonna go down that path. But anyway, so, and I started losing it a bit when, so you kept digging and digging, seemingly forever. And then they have like this device, and it like beeps, beep, 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 like if it senses radioactive dye. Oh, and then the nuclear medicine people, they like took images, but then they also like marked it with a pen, cobalt pen, which is probably not too healthy, I would assume. Haven't done research, but cobalt, it's like an element. Anyway, so they, you know, they marked it, and so the surgeon had like a device that would beep when it sensed radioactive material. So then he's like, okay, like here it is. He took out a lymph node. Again, I didn't see anything. The sheet was right there. And they changed out the sheets between like doing this and between doing that. They took precautions, like they took safety measures to make sure things are disinfected. They put disinfecting things on me all the time. So, you know, when I made the comment about the room not being all sterile and white, that's not to say that it wasn't sterile. It just wasn't something that I was thinking it would be, you know. But they kept like wiping me down with like antiseptic stuff. So another prayer request, pray that there's no infections of any sort, because infections caught at the hospital could be wild. And you hear about people like leaving the hospital and having like antibacterial resistant infections. So anyway, try not to like think down that path. So he, you know, he was digging, he took out a lymph node, and he uses the thing, and he's like, oh man, like let's take out one more. And at that point I was like, because in my mind I've done like some research, and I was just like, I was so relieved when in the imaging it was just one lymph node. So I was like, okay, it's just gonna be one. When I heard him say they're gonna take out a second one, because it kept beeping, I was like, oh, like I just, like I wasn't like crying, but like my tears were just rolling down my face. You know, I just felt so self-pity maybe, or like fear, or I don't know what it was. So he takes out the second one, and then it's still beeping. So he takes out a, you know, and he's searching for the third. And it's not like they just take it out and that's it. They like keep digging and digging, and you feel it like digging and digging. So then when he said they're gonna take out a third one, I was just like, you know, because the anesthesiologist lady, she like sensed and saw that I was like not doing good. So she's like, hey, do you want here, like, let me give you some medicine, like pain medicine. But I asked her, I'm like, hey, like, how long is this gonna take? So how much longer, you know? Because if it was gonna be over right away, like I didn't want to take the medicine. So she repeats my question to the surgeon. The surgeon says 15 minutes. I'm like, okay, 15 minutes, like, I got this, we can do this. And kept digging, took out the lymph node. And I think it was like 5 minutes. It didn't feel like 15, so that was good. So my tears are still like flowing down kind of silently. So he took out the third one, again, without me seeing these. I just hear everything that he's saying. Then they stitched me up with whatever they stitch up that armpit area with. Oh, and then I want to say that the surgical instructions, like before surgery, they told me like you can't shave under like your like neck and down. You can't shave like 24 hours before the surgery. So like that's depending how fast your hair grows, you know, you may have some prickles down there. But anyway, so stitched me up, and that was good. And then some people came over to like transfer me from the bed, the OR operating room bed, to back to the gurney. And you know, I'm just wearing the hospital gown, and you know how they open and close, and there are just all sorts of, so mine is just like all sense of decency and whatever just out the window. So whoever saw whatever they saw, you know, that's just a part of that experience where you just kind of don't think much of it. You just kind of have to focus on why it's being done. And anyway, so they moved me and then wheeled me to the operating, or the post-operating place, and then back to the place where I started, where they then discharged me. Yeah, again, they listened to the baby sounded good. They what else did they do? Oh, I tried to dress myself. I was like, I want to dress myself, like, oh, I just want to do that. Just after like being in somebody's hands for like 2 hours, just digging, and you know. So I mostly dressed myself, and then the nurse ended up helping me with like putting on a shirt, because it was just difficult with like a limb that wasn't working. And so much empathy for people who don't have working limbs. Man, it's rough. Yeah, so that was that. Then called my husband. We live like 20 minutes away from the hospital, so so they called him like after I was like done with the operation. So by the time he got there, I got dressed, like I was just getting discharged, so it was like perfect timing. Came home, felt really tired, just like not great, and felt like the whole time, felt like somebody was like shoving a screwdriver in my armpit. Like such pressure, just pressure. And then so sleeping was like difficult, because I usually sleep like on my side and this side and that side, but you know, now it's like I could only sleep on this side. And then sleeping flat, because I'm pregnant, and I think I have like some lower back issues. So after a while of like trying to lay flat, like I feel the need to like go on my side. But Yeah, so this night was like not great for sleep, but I feel a lot better than I did yesterday, which is, you know, it's wearing out, but the pressure on my armpit is so much less, which is like, praise the Lord. So I'm feeling fine. The results we won't know. So when they take out the lymph nodes and all this stuff, they don't know from like face value, like if it's cancerous or not, you know, the margins, all that stuff. So they sent it to pathology. I'll probably hear back soon. I'm gonna see the surgeon again on Friday next week to check bases. And there was a little bit of confusion because so they said the armpit stitches, like leave them be, don't touch them. But this part, there was no instructions on like, do I take off all the band-aids and do all the stuff? Because after 48 hours, which is like tomorrow evening, I could shower. But I don't know, am I allowed to remove all that stuff? Should I not? So we'll see what happens there. Yeah, so overall things are good. Again, thank you so much for praying. There's just so many people, strangers and people that we've known for forever, and everybody in between. It's been humbling. It's been absolutely humbling to experience so much like attention and love, and so many of you reaching out that are like around my age that have cancer, your spouses have cancer or other health issues. And it's I mean, we live in a broken world, totally broken world, under the curse of sin, and it is what it is until we get our new glorified bodies in heaven. And how fitting, right? It's like Easter tomorrow. Jesus rises from the dead and he has his like new glorified body after suffering so much 3 days prior, right? So looking forward to heaven. For now, I'm hoping to still stick around. I'm hoping to beat the odds of 5-year survival rate. You know, more than 0.5% are dead from melanoma with like my thickness tumor. So hoping to beat those odds, hoping to see my children grow. I would love to be a grandma one day. Like, I've always admired old people. Like, ask my husband. I just think old people just look so cute, minus the health issues that I now understand. You know, you have more likelihood of getting health issues with age. But overall, I just hope to see my grandchildren. I just hope to have a normal life. That would be awesome. But whatever God wills, let his will be done. Yesterday felt like mild torture. Like, I knew they had good, you know, there's good intentions why they were doing what they were doing, but for 2 hours just being like poked and prodded, not fun. Hopefully that's my first and last surgery. Hopefully that's that. Hopefully none of you guys will have to go through things like that, but if you do, God does give grace. And you know, we all have our days written before they actually take place. So anyway, thank you so much. Please continue to keep our family in your prayers while we wait for the results to see if cancer has spread or not. The surgeon, he said, by the looks of the lymph nodes, they look healthy, but again, you could have tiny little microscopic melanoma growth. So we'll have to wait and see for that. But yeah, keep our family in prayers for just peace, for whatever comes next. And thank you so much for praying for us. I think that's all. Yeah, sorry it's like such a long video, but